All right, then 1 minute, then I start. Huh?
Yeah, you can go, Jack.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the kickoff webinar on business entrepreneurship and private sector community of practice. Community of practice is one of the platforms of the YouthPower to learning and evaluation. We are excited today to launch this community of practice, share with you what is in store, and also get you moving. I'm Jack Omondi from Kenya, the youth community of practice youth advisor, and also the project officer at Don Bosco Tech Africa. So kindly, if you're joining us, kindly feel free to interact with us. Feel free to interact with us through our chat box. Kindly indicate your name, the organization, and the location you are joining us from. If you have any questions or anything that you want to know, kindly put it in the chat box. As I have said, I'm the youth advisor, and I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Lara, to give us an overview of what is expected of us in this meeting, and also to introduce herself. Lara.
Thank you, Jack. It's a pleasure to be here and welcome everybody. I see some familiar faces, some familiar names. Looking forward to this hour that we have together today, which is the kickoff for a year-long community of practice. And some of you may know that this was a request. I think there was a listening exercise, and the YouthPower team is wanting to address topics that are of high importance to the network. So we're going to be talking about youth entrepreneurship, business and private sector engagement as it relates to USAID programming and all sorts of youth programming all around the world. So today we're going to give a little bit of the overview of the broader network. And then when you see that acronym, USAID loves acronyms. Some of you may not be as familiar with all of them. COP is our community of practice. That's us, this group, me, Jack, and you. And we're going to share goals and expectations, and we're going to brainstorm and get input from you all on those goals and expectations and arrive at sort of the first priorities for the learning agenda by the end of today. And then we'll just do a quick wrap up with next steps. But you will have an opportunity to be in a small group with a couple of folks today, and you will have an opportunity to respond live to very specific questions about the learning agenda. Go ahead, Hina, if you want to go to the next slide. I'm just going to show you who you're on the call with today. So that's me and Jack on the left, and we're going to tell you a bit more about ourselves later on. Jesse and Hina manage the overall network, so not just this community of practice, but the other communities of practice as well. Cole, I have made you a new title last night. It's called Digital Tech Director. If you have any tech issues, tell Cole, he's a wizard. He's been helping us put this whole thing together. Okay, go ahead, Hina. So why are we doing this? Those of you who've worked with me in the past, and I see a couple of you who were back in the day at FHI 360, right? When we started working on, systems approaches to youth employment and youth development. You always have to kind of sit back and say, why are we doing this? And if I had to give one sentence to why we're here today and why YouthPower wants us to be here, we're going to make programming better. And how are we going to make programming better? By learning from each other, by sharing our failures, by sharing our successes, by developing tools, by sharing tools, all of that good stuff. So hopefully that is something that motivates you all. And Hina, if you go to the next slide, we have a little bit of background. So I think one of the goals of this today and of the way we're trying to run this community of practice is to be really inclusive, really global, beyond Washington. So I think there's a core group of people in Washington that have traditionally participated in these types of activities and you know, do a lot of great work and see a lot of great work across the world. But there's also people around the world who may be working for USAID or on USAID projects, who may not be, who may be running their own startups or social enterprises. They may be youth, they may be development practitioners, and we want to make the tent as big as possible and bring these people in. So a little background for all of you who have not been with us since the beginning. Positive youth development. Where did this come from? Well, it's to be positive and not negative, right? The concept emerged out of a kind of a reaction to a situation where people doing youth programming, and this was originally in the United States, were seeing youth as problems, were commenting on negative factors like risks, like violence, you know, problems to be solved. And somebody said, guys, we got to think differently about this. Youth are the next generation, and youth themselves have assets. And what we need to focus on is what those assets are and how youth can leverage those assets to contribute to the change and be a part of the positive change. So it's a very positive vision. It's holistic and it's systemic. Within that, what I mean specifically when we refer to programming and making programming better is that USAID may embed youth development into a health program or embed health into a youth development program. Same with education. And those are more traditional. We've seen those for many, many years. What we're talking about, and what has also been around for a while, but I would say a slightly more recent strand of programming, is how do you embed and weave together youth income generating opportunities, career development, entrepreneurship, and how do you connect youth and business and youth and economic growth? So I'll have some fun stories to tell you about that. Before I hand it over to Jack, I wanted to just do a little icebreaker. We have a riddle, and you can, first of all, we are really happy to see all these familiar faces. Welcome, Claudia Pompa. Welcome, friends from Haiti. Welcome, Irex. Rocky, I see you from DRC. Wonderful to see you here. This is really fun. So we have a riddle. And the riddle is, why do they say, you know, that saying about the third time's the charm? You know, they say, like, if you try something and on the third time you will succeed. So just type your answer if you have an idea. I was just thinking about this, and it represents a little bit my journey as an entrepreneur in the past few years. So nobody told me the answer to this riddle, but I think it's because the first time you try something, you make big mistakes. The second time you try something, maybe you make some little mistakes, but you're still making mistakes. And the third time, you know you're going to make a mistake. And it's when you know you're going to make a mistake and you're humble and you're willing to learn that you're most likely to succeed. So Bonfas Betty, welcome from Kenya. Bonfas was a part of the first labor market assessment that we did with FHI 360 in Kenya. And Jack, you remember I was telling you about that when I gave you some
you told me that. Yeah.
So Jack, it's up to you. You get the next slide and you are going to present the guiding principles, and you're going to translate them into your own practical language for folks who may or may not have been a part of this. Oh, sorry. One last thing. This community of practice is one of several. The other two that have already been defined are youth engagement and gender. I'm not sure if there's going to be a fourth or if there'll be more. Ours is broad in the sense that this is more than one topic we got here. Entrepreneurship is a topic, and business is a topic, and how do you work with the private sector from the practitioner and development perspective is a topic. So we're going to need to hear about what you think about priorities. There is a little bit of direction we've gotten that the first sector that we'll look at is agriculture. That can mean a lot of things, though. That can still mean tech. That can mean youth entrepreneurship. That can mean jobs. It can mean private sector engagement. So it will serve as a model, though, for us to get some content up and in your hands, and have you guys also be feeding content in and sharing experiences. And we'll move on to other sectors, and we can also work, as Jack will explain, across regions. Good. So over to you, Jack. You have the next slide.
Okay. Thank you, Lara, for that wonderful presentation and guiding the members. First, before I proceed, I would like to let the participants know that this webinar is being recorded. So after this presentation, maybe we will share with the members through the youthpower.org platform. So if you are not even familiar with the Youth Power org, Youth Power 2 Learning and Evaluation, kindly go to youthpower.org and get to know more information about this wonderful platform. Now, I would like to talk about these guiding principles. And the guiding principles are represents the culture and the values of the network. These are the guiding, let me say, gold standard that actually let us or assess how we implement our projects and activities, and even how we engage with the members. The first guiding principle that is so much dear to us is fostering meaningful connection. The members of the network really wants to get opportunities to learn and share ideas, not only among themselves, but also with other people. So how we proceed or how we help the members in implementing these our activities or projects is by fostering meaningful connection. Another important guiding principle is engaging with the network or map network engagement. Actually, members contributed to the idea that they want their activities to be more visible, and also to replicate these activities not only to the platform but to their local communities. So as a network, we will strive to have members' activities more visible and also show them the direction in as much as we can. We also we also promote or encourage inclusivity, and this is very much important not only to the network but to the other private sectors that are also or our partners, for example, that we don't want to leave anyone behind. There is a guiding principle at the SDGs that talk about leaving no one behind, and also it is the idea of the YP2 LEL that we are not going to leave anyone behind, especially the young people, women, and anybody that is interested in joining the group. Another very much important part of the guiding principle is curating and creating practical resources. Actually, for any youth or young people to proceed or to succeed, they need resources that they can relate to or they can share ideas from. And YP2 offers such resources, and also the members themselves share ideas within the platform. There are many platforms within the YP2, and especially we will share this in the COP, so that members can easily get meaningful resources and also resources that can help them in achieving their goals. We also promote, we also empower the network or the members to be champions, not only within the COP, this COP business and entrepreneurship and private sector engagement, but also to replicate what they will get here into their communities. So we will foster developing positive development of the young people. So those who are here after this, I know there are many young leaders. All of us joining or will be joining the COP are leaders, but we want to reorient their skills so that in the end, they become leaders, not only within the new members that will be joining, but also in their local communities. We also promote or the guiding principles that also guide this COP is ensuring member agency and agility, making sure that the structure within the COP is followed, and also the structure ensures that ensures that there's a positive engagement, so that you are free to engage with the youth advisor, the youth champion, the director, so that you don't have that fear. So we promote that, so that we promote the idea of positive engagement at all in the at all levels, top down and bottom up. I think these are the major guiding principles that will guide and will guide the COP. Thank you, Hinan. Please, Lara, proceed.
Thank you. Jack, can you move your camera so we can see your whole face?
Okay.
I didn't want
to.
to.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So goals and channels. You see here on this slide the things that we're going to do on the left, kind of the process, and what we're going to achieve on the right. I learned something as we were working on these slides, I guess, which is that in the past, there has been very much of an eagerness to produce outputs, right? Those of us who have worked before in the USAID world know that we have to accomplish things, we have to have deliverables and products. And that is something that we will have at the end of this community of practice, or maybe even before it's over, we'll have several. But the important thing is we do want to make sure that we're focusing on the process and that that process is working for everybody. So right from the beginning, starting after this meeting, we are going to begin to collect and disseminate resources that are relevant to our topic. The idea is that affinity groups we expect are going to emerge. So those folks of you on the chat who may know each other, who may not know each other yet, who may, in the question and answer today, may start expressing certain interests. We're hoping to see that kind of gel into maybe regional, maybe language based or thematically based groups. And we would support that and work with you. And then there may be groups that want to work specifically on a project and learn more. So maybe a deepening of something that's an affinity group, or maybe something different, a very specific topic. So these are kind of the how, but we want to hear from you. We don't just want to tell you this is the how. If you have other ideas, this is the vision, is that this process leads to us developing research. I have some very specific ideas about that, but we want to first hear your ideas. And we can build on those in the session afterwards. So, Hina, go ahead to the next slide. Jack, did you want to talk about, you want me to do this one and then you talk about the next one, the role of the champion and the members? Yes. Okay. Yes. So this is a little bit following on the last slide. Again, for those of you who've not been part of these communities of practice, you look down the left-hand column and you see the ways in which we engage with this global group. Now in a time of COVID, everything's virtual. In the past, sometimes meetings were in Washington and therefore it was hard for people to access. Now everything's accessible, but there's still questions about what works best. Is it calls? Does Zoom work for everybody? Do people want to do WhatsApp groups? Is it useful to go to the website and have sort of exchanges? There's an email discussion list. So these are sort of the tools, but we want you to tell us as well. That's one of the 3 questions we're asking you. So Hina, go ahead and go to the next slide. And Jack is going to talk a little bit about his and my role on the left and the role of members on the right. Go ahead, Jack.
Thank you very much once again. I would like to take you through the roles and responsibility of the COP champion, the youth advisor, with me and Lara. We are here to help you in achieving a common sense of purpose. We have a COP as a purpose, and we'll be helping you to achieve that purpose. We'll also listen to all your needs. If you have any question, any clarification, we'll be there to assist you. We'll also try to promote an easy way of learning and exchange. Actually, we'll also be holding a quarterly meetings, quarterly webinars. And these webinars, let me say they are meetings. Meeting can either be a webinar, can either be a face-to-face or a meeting or a call. We'll be there to assist you, and it's a mandatory from us or from the members also to join these meetings. We'll also ensure that there is a positive communication and outreach, and also ensure that ensure the growth and evolution of the COP. To the members, those will be members, and I hope all of you will be members of this COP. Your major goal will be to share interest, ideas. I know many youth, young people all over the world have so many ideas, and we want you in the first phase to share these ideas with the members. We will be there to assist you in making sure that most of your ideas fruition, and also you will be required to build a common sense of purpose, so that our indicators are achieved. You will also be required to attend quarterly virtual meetings, and I've said these meetings can either be webinars, face-to-face meetings, and phone and calls. So it is the duty of all members to attend to these meetings, participate in the COP discussion group on the YouthPower.org. Actually, before these COPs, there are many communities of practice groups in the YouthPower.org, and members have been contributing or having discussions. So please, it will be your role to go to the YouthPower.org and start or contribute to a discussion, and also identify important and relevant youth opportunities in the network. And also you will be required to be a member of a small group and other informal networks. Thank you. And Hina, continue to the next slide. I think the next slide was, yes. And these are the faces that we'll be seeing. I am Jack Omondi once again, Community of Practice Youth Advisor, and also the project officer at Don Bosco Tech Africa. And at Don Bosco Tech Africa, let me just give you an overview of what we do at Don Bosco Tech Africa. Don Bosco Tech Africa is a network that connects 1 or 2 technical colleges in the sub-Saharan Africa, where we work with the young people. So it is my passion also to work with the young people in this forum, just as we are trying to empower the young people in Africa. So my role will not only be to empower the young people in Africa, but in the lower and middle income countries. Of course, I'm happy to be with you, and I know we will continue to work together, share ideas, and ensure that our ideas are implemented. Lara?
Thank you, Jack. It's been a pleasure to get to know Jack so far, and very excited about the work that Don Bosco does in 33 countries. So this is where we get to tell you a little background of how we came to this. Many of you on the call will remember the days when I used to work at FHI 360. When I went there, there was a USAID project called Workforce Connections, and it was a great opportunity to actually kind of merge thinking from the youth development field, and USAID was just kind of crystallizing its thinking around positive youth development, and we got to be a part of that. I came from a competitiveness background. I had worked in microfinance and policy reform, all the stuff, economic analysis, all of the stuff that you see that Just Results does now. And one of the things that I helped do at FHI 360 was develop the labor market assessment framework. And I know that's a part of what may be some of the tools that are of interest to this group. So I think that's a little bit what I bring to it, but I'm just looking at this like who's who list that we have on the Zoom with us. And you guys don't need to hear me talk. We want to hear what you guys think. So we have an exercise to do with you. It's a 2-part exercise. We're first going to share what's called a Padlet. So there'll be a link in the chat that you'll click on, and you're going to see on the screen 3 questions. So go ahead, Hina, if you want to share that. And we're going to give you a couple minutes of quiet to think about this. You're not supposed to be looking at your phone or doing other things. We want you to think about this. This is your input to us, okay? Invest in us and we will give back. So we want to understand what you want to learn, and that can be from your personal perspective or from the perspective of your organization. We want to know, what would you like to contribute? And especially for organizations that are currently implementing USAID projects, get specific. Tell us the names of your projects. Tell us the best way to contribute. Tell us who from the project you think is the best, person to share what that content is. And this thing about the process, somebody on the chat liked the fact that we were looking at the process. There are process people and there are product people, right? So tell us, what works for you, thinking about the lessons learned and the groups like this that you've been a part of. Admitting Melissa Howell. And I'm going to be quiet for a minute, and then Jack, maybe give folks a minute to just think and write, and then maybe you can comment a little bit on what you're seeing. Okay.
Yeah.
And I am still here, but I have to run out here and get the automatic light sensor, make sure all my lights don't get turned off.
Okay.
So I'm seeing specific examples of private sector engagement, ways to connect with youth who are starting organizations.
There's the innovative one, is asking a very simple one, innovative ways to link with the youth. Yes. Very many. Somebody is answering, what do you want to learn? Social media networking, which is a very, very good way of communication in the current world. How to network on the social media. Lara, you get that?
Yeah. I like working with a whiteboard, so do I. So, that makes me think we need to you're going to have a small breakout group today, which will, you'll have a couple,
that will work.
You'll be asked to discuss, but we could try to use some tools also with the smaller groups. And, I'll say one thing here.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear people's thoughts on. So people who know me from the olden days, I used to be sort of obsessed with quality and always trying to have a final product and to make it better and better. The way that people are working today is more iterative, more collaborative, less focused on the perfection of the output and more on the process. So I want to just think about how we could incorporate that into any work that goes on in this community of practice, and existing tools that may be just beginning, not complete. And I think we do need to address the question, though, of how each organization can maintain its own assets and make sure that they're getting credit for what they're contributing. And this has been an issue in the past, but I think making the group broader is also going to be exciting, and it's going to be we're going to learn a lot from our new members. Go ahead, Jack. I'll let you read a few, and then we'll. This is good. We want to give people a couple more minutes because I'm seeing some really good stuff here.
Yeah, somebody actually, this is from Kenya. Somebody saying that they would like a face-to-face call, or call, for example. What's the best way for a person to participate? One is asking of a face-to-face meeting in Kenya. So nice. One is mentioning, and this is very much important, how one can contribute to this COP. And one member is talking about linking this COP to YALI network. If you know YALI is also part of the USAID project. Yes.
So I don't know, I assume, Hina, that you're scrolling down, right? But one of my questions when people, so I see some great contributions in the what would you like to contribute, where people are saying what they can contribute, like, and they're giving expertise. But I would ask also how, what's the easiest way for you to contribute that? And what do you need to make that happen? What support do you need?
Yeah.
And we're going to keep all this, by the way, and the Padlet is going to stay open. So, you know, somebody who didn't make it here today, or if you have some thoughts later, you can come back.
You can also, yeah. One is talking about a place to share and contribute in the best way they can. And I hope in our previous presentation, we were talking about previous slides, we were talking about this COP trying to promote sharing of ideas. Of course, yeah, you remember that. One way is talking about what does one want to learn, pathways to youth employment, which is a very important sector. Especially, I was reading one of the documents of Lara. Actually, I've not read about this, but I was reading one of your manual where you were talking. You are so much passionate about addressing youth employment, especially in the to realign the current skills with what is needed in the market.
Yep. Okay. So I'm going to give the instructions. You still have a minute or two to keep writing, and please holler on the chat if you think we need more time for this. But I think the idea is we're going to go to some breakout groups now. They will be small. You will be with 4 people only. If by some accident it's a little bit random. So if by an accident you end up with like 3 other people that are your office mates from your organization, holler on the chat and we'll reconfigure. But in principle, they're going to be random. Jack and I and the other network managers will also just be thrown into a random group. And here's what we want you to do in the group. We want you to talk about what you wrote on here in the answers to these questions. You're going to introduce yourself first, so we're going to give you a couple minutes for that. And what do you think, Cole? We have about 7 minutes, something like that?
Yep, just about. Yep.
Perfect. Yep. So we're going to give you, everybody introduce themselves if you don't know each other. We hope people you don't know. Talk about what you said in response and come out with priorities, which is really the answer to one question, which is what do we need to do in this community of practice in the first 6 months? What needs to happen? And we want your group, somebody from the group, assign somebody, they're going to share that out on the chat and we're going to call it out and we're going to talk about it. And we'll have a few minutes after as well to do that. So go ahead, Cole. I think you can start splitting people up into the groups.
Sounds good. Hey, Caitlin and Emmanuel. We just went into breakout groups, so I'm gonna go ahead and assign you guys to breakout rooms if that's all right. We're just kind of talking about top priorities for the COP and what one or two things that we would like to get out of the COP. So I'm gonna go ahead and assign you both to rooms now. So you'll probably be just dropped into a room. So feel free to introduce yourself when you get in.
Thank you.
Yep. Hi to everyone that's joining back in from the breakout sessions. Everyone's got about 30 seconds left, so if you could hang tight, we'll be bringing everyone back in here.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome back, everybody. Jack, are you gonna let me start this and then I'll give you a chance after to comment? Does that sound good? Okay, so every group had a reporter. Bonfas, you're the reporter from our group. Hannah, you get to add a little since you didn't get to weigh in at the end. So I'm expecting, hello, Mayella. It's so great to see all these people. It's just a bit random how they put the pictures, right? So if folks can put into the chat, you know, the conclusions from their group. And sorry, I see we had somebody had a connection problem. Don't worry, we're gonna collate this all, and you know, you won't lose anything, you won't miss anything. So go ahead and start putting in your chat what came out of your group as the priorities. And I'll tell you a little bit what was discussed in our group while people are doing that. Hi, Carla Yoder. Basically, this is very interesting. So, you know, there's a couple people made a comment that there's actually a proliferation of tools. And so more than like new tools, what we may want to understand is what are kind of the fundamentals that you want to see in place when you're deciding what tool to use or what tools you need. And so that was an interesting comment. There's also a little bit of a difference of what we're hearing from Washington versus from the field. We were lucky enough to have people from both in our group. So from the fields, there's a real interest in peer-to-peer exchange and peer-to-peer learning. And from Washington, there's an interest in kind of best practices and kind of this idea of, look, there's so much out there, but like, help me make sense of it. You know, help me know what's most important. We got some latecomers here.
Yeah.
Hello, Tim Nurse. All right, so we're gonna give you a minute to put some of your group thoughts into the chat. Otherwise, I'm gonna start calling on people, and I've been told not to do that. Thank you. So we got a first group report. Wow, look at this. The need to map out youth programs so we know what's happening, more exposure into who's doing what. You know, that was one of my ideas. We have a format, and a couple of you on this call have actually done this with us for a different reason as just results. But we have this little spreadsheet that just takes stock of what the donor programs are in your area that are working with youth and basic information about them. And it's kind of a nice thing if people are in agreement to do that in the countries they're working, to just get a little inventory. We started off, when we started off the Workforce Connections program, we did that. We started before we even signed the contract, we had an intern put that together. It's not a hard thing to do, and it gives kind of a base of knowledge. And another thing I'll say is that, okay, so let's go to the next group. I don't get to expound yet. Issue of scaling remains a big question. In youth employment, we test pilots, we reach small numbers. How do we take what we learn and scale? In the first 6 months, let's create smaller groups. So we've heard that from a couple people. So we're gonna pay attention and think about how to do that, and maybe put some ideas out on the email discussion of how to get to those smaller groups. What's evidence? A couple people said that to me as well. Tapping into what young people and youth practitioners are doing and what they need. Go beyond Washington. We hear you. We're trying. This is a big goal. And And Jack, we should talk about a way to do that and to do a couple of additional webinars where we're really focusing maybe on certain countries or regions, and we make sure we get enough participants from those regions and speak in that language if we need to. All right. Interest
very
in
much important.
Interest in understanding barriers to entrepreneurship and the solutions to overcome them. Entrepreneurship is a huge one. We had somebody in our group talk about a model that they have for youth entrepreneurship. Youth entrepreneurship, unless something has happened since I've been a little bit absent from the field, it's kind of still one of the frontiers. It's an area that it's not proven. We don't have kind of a proven standard of what works. It's complicated, but at the same time, there are models that we see working. So kind of sifting through that could be interesting. I remember wanting to do something back in the day and we just didn't have the bandwidth. Tanya, great to hear from you and your group. The group that I was in felt like asynchronous learning channels were great complements to a more formal set of calls. Wonderful. So help us figure out how to do that though. We are thrilled to do that. We're learning too, as everybody goes virtual with COVID, as we all learn more technology every day. What's the most effective way to do that so that it's agile, so that it makes sense, but so that we don't lose the stuff, right? Like we're supposed to kind of keep collating and bringing it back to the larger group. Wonderful. All right, somebody else from Education for Employment. I like this. This is a new topic. Pros and cons of working in the informal sector and gig economy. Jack, do you want to talk about a couple more things you see from groups? This is great stuff. So you see after the Education for Employment, we got a few more. Group 7.
Yeah, group 7, where there's a group 2 where I was. I'm very much happy with the way people are so much passionate about youth empowerment. Like in group 2, a participant was asking how he can develop a viable and feasible business plan, especially in agriculture. How, and this is what he's expecting of us from this COP. And also a very major thing was how to track qualitatively and quantitatively the progress of our members or of the activities of the the network. And it's a very good thing. And also somebody here from, I don't know which is group what, is asking about how private sector can be youthful to the youth. I don't know how to frame it, but it was not more of a question, but a statement. How private sectors can help the youth. And this is very much important because we know there's a synergy between the government and the private sectors. They have their roles, especially in promoting youth activities. And this is something that we also need to work on so that members know the roles of the private sectors and also of the government. What do you think, Lara?
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. There's this last one on diaspora.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, yes.
And that Bonfas raised he's got an idea on how to work with diaspora, and it fits in. Those of us who remember when we were originally developing the labor market assessment methodologies, we worked on something, and this, I want to give credit to RTI. This originally idea came from RTI. It was a concept of bottleneck skills and jobs that there may not be that many jobs of this job, but it's such an important skill that the whole value chain can't grow unless we get that skill. And what Bonfas Betty is looking at in Kenya is he now has a lot of friends and colleagues who have left Kenya, are living overseas and want to come back. And how does he get them into a right job so that they want to come back to Kenya? And how does that help the economy? And, what does it look like in the Kenyan economy? So this is an idea he's working on now that I'm kind of in this world of startups and mutual assistance and introducing people. I introduced Bonfas to a couple folks, but it gave me the idea that we could, in addition to formal presentations about projects, we could have kind of lightning talks, ideas. So we have things at the idea stage, we have things that are in the implementation stage, and then kind of we have evidence and things that have sifted through where, there have been kind of this critical mass of things that have been implemented and we know what it delivers. Okay, So what are we gonna do? We are
Yes.
nearing our hour. Jack, I'm gonna give you a minute to wrap up, thank the group, say anything important, and then I'm gonna make some promises. Go first.
Thank you, Lara. Thank you, Lara. And thank you all the participants that were able to join from wherever you are. It was wonderful. I could see the passion of being emanating from you, from the Padlet, and also from the breakout groups, especially the group that I am. Thank you so much. We are really hoping to meet with you, interact with you in the coming days. And please, if you are not a member of YP, kindly go to the YP youthpower.org and register. Be a member of the group so that you can get more resources. There are many learning resources in YP youthpower.org. And also, if you would want to volunteer with us in developing the learning materials, kindly reach out to us in the group discussions, YP youthpower.org. Feel free to share this idea, this platform with other members so that not only you can benefit, but also other young people can benefit from wherever they are. So thank you so much for joining us from wherever you are. We are very much happy to have you, and we hope to interact with you. Yeah. Lara?
Sure. And Maria wants us to remind folks something. So Jack and I are here. If you guys have something special you want to say, just write to us directly or go through the YouthPower site and let us know. We're going to look at everything that's been collected today and maybe come up with some sort of natural buckets for topics to start out with. But the idea is to evolve over the time, so we won't have to be stuck in one topic, or topics can evolve. But think about what your interests may be. Now's the time to tell us. We will share back out what we learned very soon. I would say definitely before the end of this month, you'll hear something about what we learned today. We'll probably try to set up our first content meeting in January, and we'll be asking some of you. We may go out to actual implementers and just ask what are the programs that you have and whether you would like to present about your work as a way to kickstart the content. And that would probably be around agriculture, but could be in any of the topics, whether it's entrepreneurship or private sector engagement or both. So yeah, and thank you. Thank everybody for being here. Really great to see everyone. Thanks for our support team, who is so seamless that you don't see them, but they actually did everything.
Yeah, it was very wonderful to interact with the people. Yeah.
I'm just putting my own Lara at justresultsllc.com. But the YouthPower website is going to be really the way that we communicate. But before we have those discussion groups set up, if you have something specific to say right now, come right to us.
Yeah.
Thanks. Have a great day, everybody. And have a great evening, those of you who are overseas and it's a bit later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Everybody.
You too.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.